Hi, flower friends. It's Nicole from Flower Hill Farm, and welcome to the very first episode of a podcast that I'm calling Hi, Flower Friends, because it is how I've started every single YouTube video since I ever posted a YouTube video, probably 7 or 8 years ago. I lose track. Anyway, I've been hosting a wonderful podcast with botanical interests and epic gardening under their umbrella, and they recently made the decision to pause all of their podcasts, not just mine. But I was having such a good time doing this and talking with all of my flower people that I didn't want to stop. And everyone that I went on the trip with to Europe wanted to be on the podcast. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to put this under my own umbrella, and I'm going to continue this under Flower Hill Farm. So that said, it will be posted here on my YouTube channel, but it will also be uploaded to the podcast platforms so you can both listen to it if you're busy and don't want to watch the video, but it will also be available in video form right here on my YouTube channel. Well, if you're watching this on YouTube, that's where you are. But if you're listening to it on the podcast, of course, you can listen as well. It's on Spotify, it's on Apple Podcasts, all of the above. My very first guest, I am so excited to tell you about because she's been an inspiration for me. Little did she know. Anyway, it is Ellen Frost, who is the founder of Local Color Flowers, which is a flower shop in Baltimore. And she sources all of the flowers that she uses locally, and I thought she would be a great guest to talk to. We were just in Europe together. We had the best time, and honestly, we want to go back. Anyway, let's pull in Ellen. Oh, there she is. Hi. I'd love to welcome my first guest on Hi, Flower Friends. It is Ellen Frost of Local Color Flowers. And Ellen, you're a florist in Baltimore. Tell us how you got started.
I got started actually as a gardener. I started gardening about 25 years ago and really loved it. Took the master gardening class, became a master gardener, and wanted to do more. So I started working on a farm here in Baltimore County. Part of that job was working at a farmer's market. And next to my stall was John McEwen, who was the first flower farmer I ever met. And I spent most of my time at that market talking to him, and most of the money that I made at that market buying his flowers. I didn't really have any interest in flowers before that, and I fell hard for them. I just really loved them, started doing design myself without really any training at all. Started doing friends' weddings, and when I ran out of friends that were getting married, I thought maybe I can start a business and strangers will hire me to do this. And that's how I got started.
And when was that?
2008 is when we started the business. Mm-hmm. So we're in our 18th year. But I was probably doing gardening free design for a couple of years before that.
Okay. So you obviously started out by using a farmer's flowers, and
Yep.
you continued that strategy throughout your business. Talk about what your philosophy is at Local Color Flowers.
Yeah, so we source all of our flowers locally. Everything comes from farms within 100 miles of Baltimore, and that has been since the beginning. So when I first met John, I loved his flowers. I loved him. I loved learning about flowers from him, and it made total sense to me to buy his flowers and make designs with them. I didn't know anything about the global industry or wholesalers or anything. I just knew John, and I liked him, and I liked his flowers. And the more I started getting into design, I thought, well, I love John and his flowers are great, but I need more. He doesn't have enough for me to do this. So I basically said to him, who are your friends? Like, do you have friends that are farmers? And he said, okay, sure. So he introduced me to two other farmers. They were just field farmers. So not just field farmers, but farmers that didn't grow indoors at all. They grew, April to October. And so for the first couple of years, I just bought from three farmers, John, Mel, and Bill. And I created designs that worked with their stuff. I didn't have roses. I didn't have orchids. I didn't have any, thing that was not grown locally. And that didn't really bother me. And in fact, I thought it kind of set us apart in the world of design because one, I don't know, I always thought it was fun to tell people that we didn't use roses because people would just lose their minds. Like, what do you mean? How do you do weddings without roses? What bride would do a wedding without a rose? And we were like, no, we can do it. We can make
Yeah.
things beautiful without, these imported flowers. And it just snowballed from there. So once I decided I wanted to quit my job and just do flowers full time, John introduced me to the Maryland Cut Flower Growers Association, where I would attend meetings. I met probably 30 farmers in Maryland, many of whom grew in the winter, many of whom specialized in certain crops like woody, flowering branches, and I just made friends with these growers and built a community of basically built my own supply chain in
Yeah.
our community. And it was not easy, I would say, in the beginning, telling people what I was doing because it just was so strange to people. But I never really wavered. I just thought there are plenty of flowers in our region. I don't need to go outside to get more. I just can be creative within the constraint of sourcing locally. And that has served us well for almost 20 years.
What were some of the first flowers you were working with? Like what was John and Mel,
Oh,
Bill?
sure.
What were they growing?
All the field stuff like zinnias, celosia, dahlias, salvia, hydrangeas, snapdragons, field annuals
Yep.
mostly. I started probably after like 2 or 3 years, I started buying from Dave Dowling.
Hmm.
And he was the first person that I bought from who had a greenhouse and was growing like on the shoulders and in the winter. And then I started to get things that after 2 or 3 years, I was like, oh, there's calla lilies and there's
Hmm.
Gerber daisies and there are aromaris, like all these things that I sort of would see but didn't know a grower who had them.
Yeah.
And that was when I sort of started saying, like, okay, there are growers that have more than just the field stuff. And not that that wasn't enough. Actually, it was more like I wanted to expand what my designs looked like.
Hmm.
And even though I could take zinnias and make them feel formal or make them feel natural or make them feel bohemian, it was still zinnias and a lot of zinnias.
Hmm.
So I wanted to sort of elevate my look a little bit. And that was another reason why I think we sort of expanded our reach to other growers.
What did you guys use for greenery? I'm trying to think of what.
Okay, so greens.
Yeah.
So in the spring, we really doubled down on variegated Solomon seal. It was
Okay.
like our number one. It's still, I mean, right now in Baltimore, we're like 7A, 7B, and we
Hmm.
don't really have any outdoor foliage until Solomon seal. I feel like that's our first like
Hmm.
cut foliage. So tons of that. Um, and then, we were using Dusty Miller, lamb's ear, scented geranium, eucalyptus, but eucalyptus sort of got popular later. Like we were
Hmm.
using eucalyptus, but not that much. Mountain mint, tons of mountain
Yeah.
mint. Um, and then in the fall, moving into nine bark and smoke bush, but that was even a little bit into our career. Like I feel like in the
Hmm.
beginning there wasn't as much of that. We were using like sage, lots of basil, like all the basils.
Oh yeah.
And then for the first few years, we didn't work in the winter. So I had a full-time job. This was more like a weekend thing the first 2 or 3 years. And so in the winter, I didn't worry. I just said, won't do anything and I'll work my day job. And it wasn't until later that we started working with greenhouse growers and then
Hmm.
having, using evergreens in the Christmassy time and then foliage that was grown indoors in the winter months.
Are you open year round?
So for many years so we started seasonally, then so I could quit my job, we went to full time year round. and we were year round probably for the next 12 or 13 years, maybe 14 years. And then just like as I get older and have like my husband and I, our families live away from here. And so we don't get to see them a lot during the season. So we started taking off the month of January, and then coming back in February for Valentine's Day and on from there. But there's enough stuff for us to work year round. Maybe not do, and there isn't the demand either, but like not to do like as many weddings or as many events. But there is stuff, and it's a little bit different than during the season too. You have to like piece more together, like flowering branches from this person, snaps from this person, like you're piecing it together a little bit more than you are during the season. But there's stuff. I mean, Maryland is rich with flower farmers. We have an amazing community, and it's only getting bigger.
I love that. So what was it that made you say, I only want to source local? Like, what does that mean for you philosophy wise?
There was a couple things I think that influenced that thinking. I mean, one was just like at that time, and in Baltimore, I mean, part of it is where I grew up. I grew up in Buffalo, New York. There is a lot of like hometown pride. Buffalo is like blue collar. They're a sports city. People really love Buffalo, even though everybody else thinks Buffalo is like an underdog, whatever. And Baltimore has a little bit of that same feeling. And when I was starting to work at the farmers market, there was just such like enthusiasm and love for the market and for like buying local. And I was on board with that. I mean, partly because I loved Baltimore, but also I was looking for something that was going to be more sort of, I know sustainable is such like a used word, but like something that was less impactful on the earth than shipping flowers from thousands of miles away. And I'm not saying that there isn't a place for that. Maybe there is. But in my region, in my world, there wasn't a need for it. And I wasn't so like, I was more into seasonality and using what we had rather than really going outside of that to use a lot of fossil fuel to fly things from South America here. Like we didn't need that. And I wasn't the kind of designer that felt like, oh, my designs will be ruined if I don't have peonies year round or if I don't have roses. I was like, look, I have discovered that I'm a creative person and I can work with what I have, and that constraint was fine. But also I loved John. I mean, I still love John. I see him, I still buy from him every week. I loved him, and it did not make sense to me that he had more flowers than he could sell every week. And to me, I was like, look, if I can play a role in buying from somebody I know, taking that money and paying people who live in my neighborhood to work in my shop, to work for couples that are getting married in my neighborhood, like all of that made the most sense to me. And I did in the beginning have like one or two situations where, because, educating people is like a huge part of what we do, like certainly in the beginning, but even still now. I did have a couple situations where like a bride said, oh, I'm happy to go with local, but my grandmother carried gardenias and I really want gardenias. I really want them. And I was like, okay, like maybe that's what I should do. I should like does that make me more customer service based or, okay, I'll try it. So I remember I ordered these. I had not been to the wholesaler. I had a wholesale account, but had not bought there.
Right.
I bought these gardenias. I had never used them. I didn't know what to do with them. They came like on a pillow. And I was like, what the hell am I going to do with these? Like, this is not the thing that I know. And I figured it out. I put them in the bouquet. I just felt bad because I was like, not only does this seem unnecessary, even though I know it is like a sentimental thing, it is also not a thing that makes me feel confident as
Mhm.
the the person giving you these flowers. And I didn't know how to stand behind them because I'm like, I don't know, maybe they do wilt, maybe they will bruise. I
Yeah.
don't know. Um, and I remember that the girl, the bride, gave us a bad review. And she said, the one thing I asked for was gardenias, and she didn't put them in there. And I was like, she doesn't even know what a
What it
gardenia
is.
is.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no. So I only had to do that like once or twice where I was like,
Yeah.
no, you know what? What works for me is that we are locally sourced, locally based. We're working with growers. That is the thing that we are going to become experts in.
Hmm.
And I am not ever going to be an expert in shipped in flowers. I'm never going to be an expert in sourcing from a wholesaler. There are every other florist that does that. And if somebody wants that, I will happily refer them. And I do that all the time. But for us, this buying from people I know, hiring people I know, spending money with people I know, keeping our environmental footprint low, just made all of the sense to me.
Now, I just want to ask you what you were originally doing at the farmers market. You were at a different booth. What were
Yes,
you
I
doing?
worked. So the farm that I worked at was a vegetable farm,
Okay.
and they had a small plant nursery. So I did both produce and worked in the nursery. So, seed starting, potting things up,
Hmm.
so much deadheading,
Oh yeah.
stuff like that. And
Right.
then, schlepped stuff to the market and sold at the market. But like I said, I found quickly that vegetables, well, great,
Yeah.
not as fun as flowers.
No, they're not. And
Yeah.
I will never stop growing veggies, but
Yeah.
I do get not equal satisfaction
Yeah.
harvesting zucchini, but
Exactly. We
eh,
need them, but not the
yeah.
same.
No, they're great. They're great eating though.
Yes, agree.
So, have you found that your designs end up looking differently because you're sourcing local flowers versus the roses and the wedding designs that you see on Pinterest?
Yeah, for sure. And I think they're different for two reasons. One, because we are using seasonal flowers, which means that, on any given day, whatever the date of your event is, the flowers are going to be different. So even if you're getting married May 28th this year, it's not going to be the same as May 28th last year. So we always tell people what you're getting is a one of a kind design. These combination of flowers will never be the same again. It is a snapshot of what it looks like in Maryland today. And so that's one of the reasons. So things are changing constantly because of the weather, because what farmers are growing when they're harvesting. But they're also different because I think that we are very comfortable, have gotten very comfortable over the years with we always call it like designing on the spot. It's like we don't know what we're going to have until a few days before the wedding. And for, I think, many conventional or traditional florists, that is like the most frightening thing because they're like, you don't have a recipe, you haven't ordered
Right.
your flowers 6 months in advance, you can't make the exact picture that was on Pinterest and recreate the exact thing. For us, that was never, we were never going to do that.
Hmm.
And so our designs were okay, give me a color palette. Let me learn about like your style, how you feel the wedding is going to be, how you think the event should feel. And then we are going to translate all of those things into a flower arrangement. And they are going to have elements that most traditional florists are never going to be
Yeah.
interested in, have access to. We're going to have coming up, we're going to be having mock orange in a wedding next week. We're going to be, right, like just the mock orange, just mock orange
Hmm.
is like the most beautiful, the most fragrant. It creates the most beautiful designs. Like fragrant abelia from Bob Wollum. Just like elements that are so special to us and now have such meaning for us. And we have communicated that to our customers. So it's meaningful for them too. And so our designs don't look, one, like they're made with a recipe.
Yeah.
They are never the same. If you said, like, what's your, like some florists, you can look at their Pinterest or their Instagram or their website, and they have a very clear aesthetic. It's coral charm peonies, it's quicksand roses, like it's a very specific look, and they can make that look year round. And for us, that just was never our thing. It was like, we are going to be creating new every single day forever.
Yeah. That's
And
beautiful.
that is what's so fun. Like, I don't know how people stay engaged with design
100%.
when it is, because it's all, we are not, I mean, as much as I like to think of myself as an artist, what we're doing is production. We're doing 20 centerpieces, we're doing 30 centerpieces. And if every wedding or every event or every design that you made was in a recipe that was in the same 3 colors with the same 6 flowers year round, every year, forever, it would not
Boring.
be so boring,
Yeah.
so boring. Our work is so different and exciting every day because of sourcing locally.
Speaking of that, so what does it look like on a daily basis to source from local flower farmers?
Yeah. So right now, I would say this is pretty much how it goes. So at the beginning of the week, we get availability lists from our growers. Usually that's like Monday, Tuesday for delivery the following week. And
Okay.
so on Monday, I'll get an availability list at noon. I'll go through it. I'll, have my sort of list of what I'm thinking color-wise I need, number of stems I need, and I'll start making that order. Not everybody sends their availability list on the same day. So I get availability lists Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday.
Okay.
So I'm also having to balance, like, okay, I think that the Friday guy is going to have snaps. So I don't want to order snaps from the Monday person, but I also don't want to miss it if he doesn't have snaps. So it's a little bit of a balancing act of also just like knowing the farmers really well and having like really strong relationships with them, and understanding seasonality and stuff like that. So I'm making my orders Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, sort of throughout the week. And then I'll just talk about ordering first. So then the following week, we start getting deliveries on Monday, and we get deliveries Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and sometimes Friday if we need more. We have one grower that's like very close to us, less than a mile away,
Oh, wow.
and so it's easy to like, her house and my shop and her farm are within like zero point 0.8 miles. So we can always order last minute, or,
Yeah.
she can swing by. I've gone and cut stuff at the farm. Like, we have a good relationship that way. So that's sort of how it works with like orders and deliveries. And then there is a lot of, just because we do have such close relationships with our growers, there is like a lot of texting during the
Wow.
week, which is just like, hey, I'm in the field, I'm harvesting. You said you needed 5 bunches of this. I actually have 7. Could you use 2 more? Or, there's a lot of fluidity to that. And again, I know that even in the beginning when I was starting, that really freaked me out because I was like, oh my God, I don't know exactly what I'm getting. I don't know how to plan for this. What if I don't have enough flowers? That was always my biggest fear. What if I don't have enough flowers? It was like,
Yeah.
and I always would have a clause in our contracts for everything. Like, I will source from a wholesaler if I have to. I'll go to Trader Joe's. I'll go to Whole Foods. Like, you're not going to not have flowers.
Right.
But my goal is that everything is sourced locally. We have enough stuff. We have the right stuff. and I've never had to go to the wholesaler. I've never
Mhm.
had to use that, even when we've had hurricanes. And even
Wow.
my plan was just to increase the depth of flower farmers that I had. So, we have probably access right now to 40 plus farms. So I never feel like I'm in a bind.
Yeah.
Even next week I have a wedding, and we're not doing as many weddings anymore just because I'm old. But we have a wedding next week that is like a very specific color palette for spring, which is
Yeah.
burgundy, periwinkle, and coral. So when I first got it,
Oh.
I was like, "Ooh, okay."
Burgundy can be tough in spring.
It can be real tough. And I
Yeah.
even like reached out to some of our growers and was like, "Look, here's the Pinterest board. Like, anything? Is there anything?" And we had one grower that was like, "Never. I would never grow burgundy in the spring. Nobody would want it." I'm like, "I'm just telling you, here's the Pinterest board. It looks great. It seems like a good palette, but I get it." So, in maybe like 20 years ago when I was starting, I'd be like, "Oh, I don't know if I can promise that color
Right.
palette." But now I'm like, we'll figure it out. Like, okay, burgundy. Like, I would love burgundy ranunculus. Maybe not going to get that. But, and this is where the local sourcing kicks in. I'm like, oh, we have calacanthus. Like, nobody knows calacanthus. No florist is like, oh, I hope I get calacanthus. Like, that's not. So calacanthus is like a long viney, it's a long and viney, and it has these beautiful like burgundy trumpet. They almost look like orchids. They've got like a white center. They're great. And I'm like, okay, I know Bob has those. I have something burgundy.
Right.
So where another florist would be like, oh, the picture had burgundy ranunculus. What am I going to do? I'm like, no, just figure out a
Yeah.
substitute.
You just
No
need
big.
the elements. And
Yeah.
I did a consultation with a bride the other day, and her wedding is in September, and
Uh-huh.
she wants ranunculus.
Right.
And I did tell her, I'm like, listen, I totally get that. However,
Right.
my dahlias are real good in September.
100%.
So, like, trying to
100%.
shift her from the
Yep.
orange ranunculus to the orange dahlias, which, I mean, you can even do a pom pom, like a little baby dahlia, like a pom pom dahlia, and it'll look not just
Totally.
like a ranunc, but you just need that element in there.
Absolutely. And we always tell people like we are going to give you the feel of what you're looking for
Hmm.
without reproducing exactly some
Yeah.
picture that somebody else made.
Hmm.
And frankly, you're probably going to like it better.
Exactly. It's going to be above and beyond what you
Yes,
saw on the board.
exactly.
And it's going to be one of a kind. What
Yep.
bride doesn't want something catered to her, one of
Yes.
a kind for her wedding? Never going to see it again. It's gorgeous.
Yes. I agree.
So you said 40 farmers within a 100-mile radius.
Yep.
Now, you mentioned the Maryland Cut Flower group.
Yep.
Is that where you met them all? Or are you at this point, having been established there for a while, are they coming to you and saying, I'm a new
No.
farmer? What do you like from me?
So once I went to that meeting for the first time, maybe like year 3, and I met a bunch of growers like Bob Woolham and Seaberry and some of the bigger growers that we work with now. But what I realized then, 20 years ago, was that a lot of the growers we were meeting and working with were getting older, were aging out, did not have succession plans for their farms. And I was really trying to have like a long term, like long game plan. And I
Hmm.
was like, okay, if we want to do this selfishly, if we want to do this for the next 20 or 30 years as my career, I'm not going to be able to count on somebody who's 70 now to like,
Right.
provide me with flowers. So there at that time there were not very many young growers. And so I sort of went on a campaign to create growers. And I know this sounds nuts, but it worked. I mean, this is how crazy it was. I Here's the things I did. I was like, okay, let me go to the Future Harvest, which is a organization sort of in the Mid-Atlantic region. I was like, let me go to their vegetable conference and ask them if I can do a pitch and tell them that flowers are better. And they were like, yeah, sure, go ahead. That's not going to work. And sure enough, a couple growers were like, let me hear more about this flower thing.
Yeah.
I had growers in Baltimore City that were doing community gardening, or young people that were into gardening and farming because of food equity issues, and really were like strongly aligned with that. But I was like, look, the vegetable, and this was true. This wasn't like just my marketing pitch. The vegetable market was becoming flooded with stuff. Like, it was just, there were so many people growing vegetables that I was like, look, here's an opportunity where I think you can make money, and there is a lot of opportunity. And so we had some growers that started doing that then. Also, I said to these growers, I will buy 100% of what you grow in the first year. Whatever it is, I don't care what it is. If it's a small amount, if it's a large amount, I'll buy everything, so that you can just figure out, one, like, how do you grow stuff? And then also to prepare you to sell to another florist in year 2, 3, 4.
That's a huge commitment on you.
It was, but also I just really saw it as like an investment in our future.
Okay. That makes sense.
And if I could, and people weren't growing on acres and acres, these were mostly small farmers that were starting, who now are on, like some of our growers that we did this plan with now are growing on 6, 7, 8, 10 acres. So they really, over, 12, 13 years have become huge, huge growers. But back then I was like, this is a way I think that I can help build the industry in Maryland and hopefully secure my own future, and also help other florists see that it's possible to buy local. Like, it wasn't like I was like, oh, I want to keep being the only one who's doing this. I was like, everybody should be doing this. Everybody should be buying locally. Everybody should know farmers and support them and work with them.
Have you seen a shift at all?
Totally.
Yeah,
100%.
tell me about
It's actually somewhat shocking to me.
Okay.
And there is no world where I'm like taking credit for that change. But I was a part of that change. And so I think for maybe the first like 8 or 10 years, really being very vocal and really being like saying, I want to be an example to florists that are saying that it's not possible. The first time I ever went to a networking event for wedding industry people, I'll never forget it. It was before I even started the business, but I was like, if I'm going to start this, I better start going to tell people I'm trying to do it. And there were 2 florists like outside the front door when I was leaving, and I was like so nervous and having like imposter syndrome. And they introduced themselves and they're like, oh, what are you doing? I said, oh, I'm going to start this business and it's going to be sourcing locally. And I remember like they laughed, like belly laughed, and was like, it will never work. It will never work. And I was like, okay, thanks a lot. But I also kind of went home and was like, it will work. I'm convinced
I'll show you.
Work. Right. And actually one of those growers does now buy a lot of local stuff. So
good.
I have seen there's a huge increase in new growers in the last, like, I don't know, pre-COVID, last 6 or 8 years. Tons of florists, not sourcing everything locally, but sourcing a lot locally during the season. A lot more customers who not only know about local, but are like coming in and asking for local stuff more than we ever had before. So I think there is a little bit of a shift.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Take a little bit of credit, Ellen.
A little bit of credit. Yeah. A little bit
so
of credit.
I would like to pick your brain on behalf of fellow flower farmers. As someone who grows flowers in a very small community, so I'm nowhere near like a Baltimore. You know how it is where I am. We got a couple thousand people. My florist will text me, same thing, she'll text me, but my florist is asking for like 10 white gladiolas at a time. So I'm not selling bucket loads to my florist.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of people live in areas like you where they can sell truckloads to their local
Sure.
florists. As a florist, what are you looking for from the farmer?
Yep. This is a great question because I think that there are some things that hold farmers back in terms of selling to florists. So, first off, quality has to be the number one thing. Like, you have to be growing the best quality stuff. And when I say, like, of course, every farmer wants to grow good quality stuff. Everybody thinks their quality is good. But the level of quality that you need to sell to florists as opposed to selling to a market or a CSA or a subscription is drastically different. And that is because the florist has to resell that to a customer. And those customers are demanding and they are not going to accept a bug bite or a bruise or a short stem or something that doesn't live long. So florists are very, most florists, let me say that, most florists, quality is going to be very high on their list. And I do a lot of coaching with farmers. I have a online class to prepare farmers to sell to florists. And the thing that I always say is do not approach a florist until your quality is great. Because as soon as you go approach a florist with poor quality stuff and they have some failure the first time, they likely are not going to come back. And so you really want to be ready and really put your best foot forward when you're about to pitch to a florist. So quality first, 100%. Next, I think it's really important to understand florists, like farmers and probably every other, industry, all florists are not alike. Our business models are different, our customer base is different. And a lot of farmers, I think, go into selling to florists like this. They're like, okay, my quality is pretty good. I'm growing whatever. I have been selling at a roadside stand. I've been selling at a farmer's market. And now I just want to take this stuff that I have and sell it to the florist without any sort of understanding about who the florist customers are, what kind of work they're doing, what's their aesthetic, how are they buying currently, do they do retail, do they do only weddings? Selling to a retail florist is very different than selling to an event florist. They are going to want different flowers. And so instead of just saying I have sunflowers and I don't understand why no florist wants these sunflowers, my advice is to sort of flip that and do the research first about what do florists actually need from you? What do they want from you? What are they not getting from the wholesaler? What do you have that matches their look that's only available locally? Poppies, if somebody's aesthetic is coral charm peonies and you can bring them a, coral poppy, that's not something they can get at a wholesaler. So trying to do the research first so that your product matches up with what the florist needs. Again, so you're not disappointed going in and saying I really worked so hard on these flowers and the florist was just no, I'm not going to buy those. Not interested. The next I think I would say is then you get into varieties. So what are flowers that don't ship well that florists can't get at a wholesaler, but that they might want? So you're looking at, fancy zinnias, fancy dahlias, tuberose, mock orange, things that are not only, but are mostly grown locally and would not ship well. And so that's maybe an in with a florist. And you have to really go in thinking I'm going to supplement what they are already getting. I'm not going to be their main person right off the bat or maybe ever. So what can I do? What can my flowers, what job do they do? Maybe they're like the frosting on the cake. They're you already have a bunch of stuff, but these are the really special things that you are going to add to a bridal bouquet or, Lily of the Valley. We have Lily of the Valley right now. That is such a special thing that you're not probably going to be getting at a wholesaler. And then I would say really understanding I'm gonna show you. Do you have this book, the Seattle Wholesale Growers book?
No.
Okay, so well, you should definitely get this.
Oh, wow.
Okay,
I've never even heard of this book.
so this it's called Floral Standards.
Okay.
And inside, I recommend it to every flower farmer because inside what the Seattle wholesale market has done is take like 10 years of research and put it together so that farmers know the standard way to harvest, bunch, stem length, number of stems per bunch,
Oh.
do they ship, how you store them, every single thing for like here's sweet peas. So it gives you the rundown of everything you need to know as a farmer selling to a florist about sweet peas. It tells you
Wow.
how to hold it, when to harvest it, what the stem length should be, expected vase life, how to ship it.
Adding to
This is
cart.
the thing that if farmers had this and just followed these standards, they would be in a better position to sell to a florist then, because the florist is usually buying from a wholesaler. They are used to wholesale flowers. They're used to things being, bunched a certain way, packaged a certain way. And if you can make that easy for them, that transition easy for them, I think that helps.
I'm looking it up right now. It's on, I'll put this website in the show notes. It's on the
Seattle Wholesale Growers
seattlegrowersmarket.com.
Market. Yep.
Yeah,
It's
so it's available on their website. I'll put that in the
highly,
description. Oh my gosh. So I have Dr. Armitage's Specialty Cut Flowers book,
yes.
but it sounds like it might be slightly different than that.
This is like a companion. And it's
Okay.
even a companion to the post-harvest book from the ASCFG because the post-harvest book is great, but it's really telling you the stage of harvest and then like what to do after the harvest. Just that.
Okay.
This is doing harvest stage, but then also saying you should be cutting at this stem length. You should be bunching, in 10 stem bunches, or if you're doing woodies, you should be bunching in 5 stem bunches, or fancy dahlias in 3 stem bunches. Like, then it's telling you here's the expected vase life, so that when a florist asks you how long does this last, one, you can say,
Yeah.
oh, it's expected 5 to 7 days, but also you can test yourself against the standard. So you harvest a zinnia, this says the vase life is 7 days. You test yours and it's 2 days. Don't try to sell that to a florist because that does not meet the standard.
I had that happen
And
to me this past fall. I had breast cancer surgery, so I wasn't able to do a lot of growing and harvesting on my own. So I was
yep,
buying from a friend of mine, and her zinnias were kinking after 2 days and just something. And finally, I realized she was using pond water in her buckets to hold them. And I was like, oh, no, 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 no.
oh no,
All of that bacteria in your water, your zinnias would be beautiful, but
right,
you're not using the correct water to hold them in. She was just
absolutely.
holding them in pond water. It was
Right. And
awful.
for farmers, it's like there are so many, and this is why, like, hats off to farmers because, and this is partly why I stopped farming and
Yeah.
like thought, I don't think I can do this. Like, there are so many crops that have so many specific needs.
Yeah.
And this is such a quick resource to just be like, I don't really know. Do I use a chlorine tablet with this flower? Like, let me just quick look. And then, is 8 inches long enough? Oh, I really need to get to 12 inches. Let me give it another week and see if I can get there. It's a great way to hold yourself accountable and set yourself up, I think, for success with with the florists.
I'm giggling because I'm reminded of, do you know about Drew's tattoo? Did you see his stem length tattoo that he's
Yes,
got increments on his arm? So it's making me giggle and my eyes are watering when I try to
totally.
suppress a giggle.
Stem length is definitely an issue, and it was funny because the other day I was doing a class with Maya Cossack of Hill and Homestead, one of my farmers, and we had these snaps that were like 3 feet long. And I cut it down for a vase that was like this tall. And she was like, she said to the class, she's like, we work so hard to give you stem length. and then you cut it 6 inches. And I said, I know, but that's what florists want. They want the versatility of using a 3-foot stem or a 6-inch stem. They want the versatility. So stem length really does matter.
Okay, good. So I'm trying to wrap my head around like the three things that we should tell farmers that florists are looking for. And you're saying quality.
Quality, and that means all the things that go into quality: correct stem length, correct harvest time, correct bunching, and even correct packaging. Like if you have 200 zinnias packed in a bucket, and when the florist takes those out, half of the stems have their heads bent. That is not how you should. That's not quality. So quality is understanding 4 bunches per bucket, 10 stem bunches. So quality above all else. Then great varieties that don't ship, that let you stand apart from your competitors. And then lastly, even though I didn't say this, I think one of the ways that farmers can really set themselves apart is great customer service.
Okay.
Because florists that are buying from a wholesaler, I have an online community called FlowerMore, and a lot of our farmers are farmer florists are just starting to buy from wholesalers, like trying it out, seeing what that's like. And the response I often get is like, oh, they don't really want to spend a lot of time with me. They don't want to answer questions. They don't know the kind of things that I'm looking for. They're kind of blowing me off because I'm small. Yeah. If you can provide great customer service to your florists, I think that goes a long way in getting them to keep ordering.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What are you excited about? What new flowers, new colors, new varieties? What are you excited? And when you see something you're excited about, are you pushing that towards your farmers?
100%. 100%. All right. The thing I'm most excited about right now is lupin, because I have been trying. So here's the thing. I know that lupin works in our zone because Moonshot in New Jersey does it, and they're in our zone. And Mima in St. Louis does it. So I know that it works. And I have been trying to get a grower to grow it for years. And finally, Moonshot gave me a tip that they are growing it as an annual in the greenhouse. Because I had a grower that was like, all right, maybe I'll try it, but then what do you do if it perennializes and then my whole greenhouse is like full of lupin and I can't do anything else with the space? And Rebecca was like, no, just grow it as an annual. So I told Danny, my friend at Winter's Farm Florals, and she's like, okay, I'll try it. And this was the first year. This is the 3rd week we've had them. They are amazing. Like, I know that there are people that live in places where lupin is like, growing out of the sidewalk, cracks, and like whatever.
Who cares?
We are not them.
Me neither. I want them everywhere.
I want them everywhere. So I'm so excited for them. Our customers are excited. We have been talking them up like crazy. And Danny and I had a meeting last week where I was like, look, I really want you to keep trying these. So those I'm really excited about.
Are they growing them from seed as annuals or plugs? Do you know?
Plugs.
Okay.
Yeah. Plugs as annuals in the greenhouse.
Okay, cool.
And I think that she told me it was called a Russell hybrid. That was the variety. Yes. So it's sort of a mix of colors. So I'm really excited about those. Excited about, we have issues here with zinnias. We have zinnia meltdown here. Do you have that?
I don't. I do get, if it's a heavy rain year, I have a powdery mildew that just wipes my whole crop out. So I try to succession them.
We have a zinnia meltdown, which I know John Dole has been studying for years, which basically is some people harvest their zinnias and then within a day they are turn black and they are totally dead. And there's no real, even though John Dole's been studying this for years, there's no exact reason that is known yet. So zinnias I'm always a little hesitant with zinnias, even though I love them and they're a huge crop. We have some growers that I feel comfortable buying from, but I'm excited for the Johnny's new zinnias this year because I just feel like they're so cute and they're so interesting and our people will love them and they look so different. And, it's like mock orange season. I'm really excited for that. It's not
Yeah.
new, but I just can't not love it.
I know. I planted
Um,
like 25 mock orange trees about 4 or 5 years ago now. So last year was the first year that I got flowers on them.
yeah.
But I want to move them. I feel like they're in an area that's a little too shady.
Oh,
So I want
uh-huh.
to move them so that they get full sun and that they grow to their
We dug one
potential.
up from a neighbor like 2 years ago and drove it down the street and put it in our yard, and it was fine. Like it
Okay, I'm
came
gonna
back.
move them. That
Yeah.
might be a project this week. I can't take on any more projects this
Add it
week,
to the
but I
list.
want to move them. I want to move my bearded iris. My bearded iris is only like 3 or 4 inches up
Oh,
too,
yeah.
and I want to move that because I want to till that area that they're in for more lupins, of course.
Yes. I love it.
Downstairs, like 15 feet from where I'm sitting right now, I have a tray of, they're called staircase lupins,
Oh,
and they're orange with a white underbelly and
what?
then pink with a white underbelly.
Oh my
Yes.
God.
Well, that was
Those
a Mima
sound
thing. Like literally
amazing.
when we were eating dinner at the Tapas restaurant in
Uh-huh.
Europe, because I already told people you came to Europe,
Oh, yeah.
and I Mima was talking about the lupins there at that dinner, and I literally pulled up WebTrack and ordered 3 trays, and they just came.
Amazing.
Yeah, so they're downstairs. I got to get them planted, but I sold some
Amazing.
online, so I'm gonna ship out half of them because
Uh-huh.
that helps pay for my order,
Yeah,
and then
of
I'm gonna
course.
plant the rest.
I
So
love it.
yeah.
I mean, the good thing is that even though like our business is changing and things are changing, like my love and excitement for flowers is never dimmed. Like I'm as excited about daffodils this year as I was 20 years ago. I just love them.
It's nonstop. And that's something that is important to have something that keeps you excited
Totally.
every single day, which is
Yeah,
why my line of work, my former life,
right.
that's what I loved about being a local television
Yeah,
reporter because every day was a different story that I was able to tell. And that kept me excited to go to work. And
yeah,
every day is a different flower that we can grow. And so
I
you're
agree.
constantly excited about what we do.
Yeah,
But we've been almost an hour here, Ellen. This doesn't feel like it at all.
I
But I
know.
want you to talk about your FlowerMore
Yeah.
and all the ways that people can learn from you because this is how I knew of you is because of the Association of Specialty
Yeah.
Flower Growers. Because you also teach a course through Lisa as well,
I have a
Lisa
lot going
Mason
on.
Ziegler. So there's a lot of different avenues for
There
people
are a lot of
to follow
ways.
you. So talk about FlowerMore first.
Yeah. So FlowerMore is probably just like work wise the most exciting thing that I
Yeah.
have going on. It is so much fun. It is so, all right. So it's an online community.
Okay.
People pay to get into it, but you can pay, it's $20 a month, which is not a lot of money in terms
Mhm.
of, what you're spending on your education, or $200 a year. And inside the community, it's geared towards flower farmers, farmer florists, and like hobby designer and gardeners that are like, maybe I should start a little side gig doing
Right.
design or a little side gig selling flowers at a roadside stand. Um, and inside the community, we focus on a couple things. One is helping people learn design because a lot of farmers want to add design to their sort of services,
Yeah.
but they don't have the confidence, they don't have the knowledge, they don't have the know how, and they often feel like intimidated to go and learn in traditional places where people learn design because they're like, I'm just a farmer. I'm not the creative side. I'm just the farming side. Which, is if I can learn design, anybody can learn design. So we've got lots of ways in the community that people learn. The main way is that we have a monthly flower design challenge that is a themed
Ooh.
challenge, and people do the designs at home. You can do it with whatever flowers you want. And then you come back and you post your photos, videos, and at the end of the month, we meet together and we critique the designs together and talk about the mechanics, the flower choices, like what worked, what didn't work, so that it's a really like supportive and fun way to learn design.
Yeah.
We also in there have like actual like classes. We have like daily design tips. And then we also, the second piece is sort of like a business piece, which is, okay, you're going to try to do flowers for Mother's Day. You're doing your first wedding. You're doing your first baby shower or a bloom bar. There's lots of sort of support around how to build your business outside of farming. Like there's lots of support for people in the farming world, like how to farm, how to have a farm business. But there's not as much for people who grow flowers and want to learn design or do design in whatever way that is.
Yeah. Is this like a Facebook group, or is it like, how do they connect?
Yeah, it's on a platform called Mighty Networks. But if you just like, I can give you a link too, but if you just look up FlowerMore, it'll come up. And it's really an easy platform to learn. It's really intuitive. It kind of looks like Facebook. But yeah, really intuitive. We have people on there that are like not savvy at all on technology that are like totally fine. We have lunch and learns, we have book clubs. It's a way for people. This is also like for a lot of us, like this work can be very isolating, and we're often doing it in our own like little bubble. And there's not even, I was saying to somebody the other day when they were asking about the trip, I was like, it was great. And it was made extra great because I didn't have to like feel stressed that like, oh, I'm going down a rabbit hole here and the people that I'm with are not going to be into this. I'm like, they're into it. They want to stay and like learn every single thing. And I think FlowerMore gives people just like a place where they can be with other people.
We can geek out.
Who can nerd out, who can geek out, who can like learn together in a really like supportive way and not feel so alone or feel so isolated in what they're doing. Yeah. So I don't know. That is the most fun. I'm a community builder at heart. My background is in community development, and building this community is just like it's like an extension of what we built in our shop, which was a really hyper local community, and just trying to take that and expand it and offer that to more people so that they can feel like things are possible for them in design when they're growing their own stuff.
Have you done an in-person meet yet?
We've had lots of in-person meetings. Cool. We went to the Biltmore. We had a private tour at the Biltmore in Asheville. We have done private tours at Longwood Gardens a couple times.
Dang.
We went to the Philadelphia Flower Show. We're doing a private class at Jenny Love's farm this summer. So she's taking us on a farm tour and doing a class.
Signing up now.
Yep. There's lots of, that's the great thing too, is like there's lots of perks, I think, like,
oh, it sounds like it,
like go to stuff. And we're having at Lisa Ziegler's farm tour, we're doing a private tour with her and Dave, a coffee hour and private tour with her and Dave. So I'm
like looking at my calendar, like how can I get down?
I know there's so many things. I know.
I'm going to Cultivate in mid-July.
Oh, right.
Too, so I'm like, oh no, how am I gonna go to all of the things? So I was like, maybe Lisa's farm is 2027 for me.
Yeah, for sure.
She does it every year, so I feel like
she does it every year at the end of June. Yeah. So that's a lot of fun. So FlowerMore is like the most fun, and then other ways I'm just like, a lot of my work is like in education. So we have a YouTube channel. Yeah. We put out design videos every week on Tuesday. And then we have a Flower Nerd newsletter, which is free. We put out every Thursday. So there's lots of ways that people can like get in touch with us that way. And then we're on like, Instagram and Facebook too. So
yeah. Yay. Well, thank you so much for taking the time.
Of course.
I have to tell, I did mention this in a YouTube video previously, but I was supposed to come to one of your in-person workshops last year. Ended up having a biopsy in Boston the same day, so I had to cancel. And then I thought it was like serendipitous that the email that we got from Dave about the trip in Europe, I was like, Ellen Frost is on the list. I need to go because I was supposed to spend some time with you last year and it just never happened. So thank you so much. You made the trip amazing. The group that we went with was beautiful. I want to go everywhere with the same group.
Me too.
Little huddle.
Me too.
It was so fun. Yeah. So when the podcast was paused, I was like, no, it's not. We're gonna keep it going.
Keep going.
I have too many flower people to talk to. So thank you for being my first guest on Flower Friends.
So happy to be here. I am so happy.
So we're gonna put all your contact information. When I say we, I mean me. I'm gonna put all your contact information in the description of this, and make sure that more people join FlowerMore.
Yeah, and I'm happy. I'll send you a discount link, so anybody listening, we'll give them a discount to join if they're interested in checking it out.
Well, thank you, Ellen.
Thanks, Nicole.
And I will chat with you soon.
All right, talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.